So oh, hello
Yeah,
guys, welcome to today's show. Hi, marvelous
yeah, hello, Hamaka. Good evening.
evening. Trust your day went well.
Yeah, my day was fine. Thank you. So, all right. So, do we have people watching right now? Can we get started already?
Yeah, we have some people, so I'm just going to drop an announcement to get more people joining.
Right. Okay.
Okay. I think we
All
should
right.
just give about a minute, then we can start off once it's 8:05.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So let's see. All right, so I can see we have three people watching. Oh, I think the numbers are increasing already. All right, guys, good evening and welcome to what we would consider the start of our workshop series for the product managers. So please drop a message in the chat. I want to be sure you can hear me before we get started. Okay, so drop a message. Let's make it very interactive in the chat. All right. If you have questions while I share my screen and explain um, the tool we'll be learning for today, feel free to drop your questions in the chat and I'll take them immediately. Okay. All right. So that's from Chukwuneye Duru. Nice. Thank you. All right. So who else do we have in the chat? Drop a message. Right. You can just say hello and. We're going to be talking about JetBrains space in today's session. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen and we'll talk about We'll talk about these tools. I would make you understand, the various use cases for JetBrains Space. Of course, the reason behind developing such an amazing tool, as well as I would walk you through the platform's interface, right? Which means you will get to see firsthand, how this solution works. All right. So let's see. Okay, so I'm currently sharing my screen. Let me proceed to add my screen to the stage. All right, so I believe this is good. Now, all right, so for those of you currently on the stream, I hope you can see my screen clearly. Yeah, so basically we have a series of workshops scheduled for the product managers, right? So you can see we have a lot of tools, and of course you can also see the date and time for these classes, starting from today's session, which is using JetBrains Space. Okay. All right. So of course, this session was meant to hold around 3 p.m., but we had to move it due to some reasons that was communicated with you. So we are having this session right now. Okay. So yeah, let's dive into using JetBrains Space already. Well, first of all, one of the major questions you would have is what exactly is JetBrains, or what is this company all about, right? So Space itself is the product, right? We're going to be covering that. Um, while JetBrains is a company behind the product. Okay, so my initial experience using a JetBrains solution was when I started out as a software developer. It's been a long time, and I've been using most of their products till this very day. So I will definitely show you a couple of solutions they have right here in the JetBrains toolbox. We'll talk about it shortly. So you can just visit jetbrains.com, right? Visit the website jetbrains.com. That will be shared with you in the chat, all right? And you can simply check out, the developer tools, their team tools, and most of the applications or most of the software that they've built for development teams, all right? And yeah, I mean that would be the best way to experience what this fabulous company is all about. All right. And the tool for this session, the first tool we'll be covering, of course, JetBrains Space, right? So this is Space, jetbrains.com/space. Okay, so JetBrains Space is a complete software development platform, right? So it's used for development teams, right? You have we have a bunch of features. You can see we have Git hosting, code reviews, CI/CD pipelines, package management, IDE plugins. You can basically use this solution for most of these features you're seeing here, even to store your team documents, right? It can serve as a file storage, as an issue tracker. You can use this to chat with your teammates, right? And you can, of course, invite guest users as well, while collaborating with your team. Okay, so basically, you can have software developers, product managers, designers. You can have everybody, all the stakeholders on the software development team use a single platform for both communication, setting up their repositories, which is hosting their code base or hosting their source codes, right? Basically, for performing code reviews as well. So you can have dev leads or team leads perform code reviews right inside the same solution. You can have the DevOps team set up CI/CD pipelines. You can use this for package management and yeah, a lot of other features. So we are going to explore the tool shortly. But I would advise you go through this webpage. You try to read through the the detail you have on the landing page to really understand what this tool is used for. So as you can see right here, it says this is an all-in-one solution for development teams, for software teams to build and deliver, to develop remotely, to manage projects, and also to collaborate. All right. So All right, so we have a couple of details. I'm sure most of us are aware, we definitely do have some existing solutions out there. We have Trello, we have, Jira, in collaboration, like Jira and Confluence, right? We see developers using Jira and Confluence, Trello, GitHub projects. So there are so many tools out there, right? And we're going to be exploring most of these tools. Speaking of JetBrains and JetBrains Space, one thing I have personally, I personally love about this solution is the fact that you can basically have both charts. You can host your repositories. You can also set up the CI/CD pipelines as I mentioned earlier. Of course, coming from a deep development background, that is what I would say is my preference as regards using this solution. But of course, for you guys, product managers, when you start using this solution, you are definitely going to have, something that you really enjoy, using about this solution. All right. So we have everything in one place. The distractions are, drastically minimized. Right. You can, of course, set up your remote development environment, and of course, it has extensible customizations. It's easy to, get started with space. You also have native integrations with your IDEs, especially when you use the JetBrains IDEs, right? And yeah, it also scales with your business. It is, I mean, in terms of the cost saving, of course, instead of paying for multiple solutions, you get everything in a single place. So this is an amazing tool, all right? And yeah, we are going to jump into this, tool right away. So feel free to explore, more details on this page, and start off by clicking on Get for Free, so you can, create your account and create your space, right? So let's open this up in a new tab. But one thing I want to mention as well is you can set this up, on your own environment, which means you can choose to set this up on premise. If you're working with a large corporation, and you choose to set this up on your own environment without having to use the hosted version from JetBrains, that is also possible. All right. So check out the features. Read the details on each of the features. And of course, I believe this tool will, continually grow as regards, the features. Okay. So, all right. Let's see if you're just signing up. Um, as I said earlier, click on Get for Free. So you have the sign up page right here. You can choose to continue with Google or to basically continue with email. I already signed in, right? I already have my account signed in. All you have to do basically is create an account, okay? So if you click on, sign up with Google, or if you choose to continue with your email, you would have to enter your password. Of course, you would get your confirmation email and all that, and then you proceed to set up your space, right? So I have my space currently set up, and I will show you right here. You see we have topuniverse.jetbrains.space. All right. Okay. So before I even jump into the main tool, I think I would also recommend that you use this, JetBrains toolbox as a way to have, your services organized, right? You can also see like your projects. These are the projects within the JetBrains space environment that you're currently signed into. Okay. So after creating your account, make sure you have your JetBrains account created. Once you're done creating your account, proceed to download JetBrains Toolbox. All right, so let's quickly search for this. All right, so I'll share this with you as well in the chat. So please make sure you bookmark those links, right? Have those links, bookmarked. Okay, so this is the JetBrains Toolbox app, and with the Toolbox app, it gives you an easy way to manage, your IDs, your projects, and your services as regards JetBrains. Okay, so you can easily download for a Mac, you can download for Windows, and you can download the file for Linux, right? You can download the option for Linux. So we have two options for a Mac. The first being Mac OS Intel, and the second being the download package for Mac OS Apple Silicon. Okay. So depending on your operating system and your machine, you can proceed to select one of these options. All right. So when you install this, you have it. When you have it installed, it gives you this, this icon you can see right here. So once you click on this, you have the toolbox opened up. And of course, if you're Windows users, then you expect to see this at the, yeah, you will definitely see this on the tray icon right here. Okay. For those of us using Windows, so you can check the bottom right on the tray, and I'm sure you would find this icon right there. Okay, so when you click on this, you can proceed to services, right? You have to sign in. So of course you would see JetBrains space. Let me proceed to signing out first. All right, so now you see I have JetBrains space right here. This is space, okay, and I can easily click on sign in. So you have to enter your company URL, which of course you would have when you create a new account. You can choose to create a new account, right? Or you can basically join an existing organization. So for our project phase, we're going to be using this, of course, and I would have to invite most of the participants into this organization, which means you don't have to create your own organization. All right, so let's go to talkuniverse.getbrains space. All right, so when I click on sign in, it's going to open this up on my browser. All right, I'm already signed in here, so all I have to say is accept. All right, so let's go ahead. We are currently signed in, as you can see again, and then our projects will be loaded as well. These projects are currently, inside the JetBrains space, workspace, okay, or organization. All right, so let's click on open the app. Let's see, so send anyway. Okay, so I was actually expecting this to open the app, but I'm assuming it's probably because of, yeah, maybe it's because of my environment here. So let's just go and use the app directly. Aside having my workspace, right here, of course we can choose to simply click on this and access our space environment from the browser, which is going to load up shortly. But I would also give you another option for those of you that would love to have the JetBrains space application installed natively, right? So let's check this out. Back to the JetBrains Space website, you can simply scroll down. There's a section here, and yeah, right here. So it's a great idea to have the mobile apps, right? It gives you easier access as regards, installing this, and of course having it, run anywhere. I mean, if you're basically, if you're basically in transit, you can simply pull up your mobile devices and check the status of your project or communicate with your team, right from your mobile device. So I would recommend you have the iOS application or the Android application installed on your mobile device, and you can also download the desktop app, right? So I am currently using this app, which is this. You can see we have it right here. So you can click on download, or you can basically select if you want this on a Windows machine or a Linux machine. You have an app image here, so you can basically download this and use this natively on your device. All right. So the link was shared with you, but I'm going to share that again. All right, good. So enough of this. Let's close some of these screens here, some of these tabs. And this is what we have on the browser. This is exactly what you would find as well on the native app. I'll be using the native app in this, in this class. But basically, you're going to, see the same thing. All right. So let me go back. Let's just, go straight to our dashboard. All right, so let's close this. And we're going to be using the app, right? So this is the app currently signed in. And all right, so this is my dashboard, okay? So if you sign in, you're going to, of course, get to see your organization, the organization you're currently signed into, all right? And yeah, once you sign in, the first thing you see here is a dashboard. So basically, this is my dashboard. I have a project here called MedBookly, and we can basically create multiple projects. Okay, so you have different permissions, you have the admins, and basically you have the team members. And I'm going to show you most of those things. You see, this is an example project, MedBookly, and as you can see, we have 90 members, inside this project. Okay, so we have 90 members inside this project. We can also set up our to-dos, so we can use this to manage our daily to-dos, right? And yeah, so right here we're basically asked for some sort of rating. Let's close that. And this is to subscribe to the premium plan. Let's close that as well. We don't need to do either of that right now. So looking at the dashboard, so the first thing we have here is the project we can see. This is the project we're currently seeing from here, right? And of course, when I click on that project, you can see the details of that project, okay? So this is the cohort 2.0 open source project development, workspace, right? We have the members. Let's see. So yeah, we have the members, we have some of the code reviews that occurred here. Of course, there's nothing here for now. We have the repositories that was created under this specific project. So you see we have the backend repository, the front-end repository. We're going to get back to this shortly. And then you can also see the documents. We have the documents, and we have some of the issues, the resolved issues and also the unresolved issues. Well, when you click on this option here, it takes you straight to your chats. So you can see we have chats, and I can basically communicate with a team member, right, straight from here. So if I look closely, and I'm very sure Amaka is not online at the moment, but let's see. So if I search for Amaka, all right, so let's open chats. Okay, and I can simply drop a message. So hello, Amaka, right? And of course, Zamaka is active, then she would respond. But as you can see, this is off work, right? It'll be available at 8 a.m. Tomorrow. So currently, Amaka is not active. Yeah, but it's seamless. You can basically communicate with your team. Send attachments. You can basically send your emojis and of course, you can pin messages, you can create an issue straight from the chat, and yeah, you can basically, let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, so you can basically create a thread as well, straight from the chat environment. Okay, so let's close that for now. So right here you will see your channels. So you can set up channels for developers, you can set up channels for designers, channels for product managers, and you can have every single conversation happening in one place. Okay, just like the way you have Discord or Slack, instead of having to use Discord and Slack, for this kind of conversations, you can decide to have everything happen inside space. All right. So right here, you see it shows you the profile of the people you've communicated with. Okay. So this is basically going to show you the profile. That's the DMs, right? And then this would take you straight to threads. So if you have created a thread or there's a current thread that you are attached to, the thread would basically show up here, and you can simply navigate or you can simply visit each of those threads seamlessly. Okay. Um, all right. So here we have reviews. So if there was a review on a specific repository, you would have those reviews show up here. All right. And when I mean reviews, I'm speaking with regards to development teams, right? So you have the senior developers probably reviewing the junior developers code base. So you can basically have a visual a way to basically look into those reviews. So I just clicked on the sample review, and let's see if that is going to show up here. So yeah, so as you can see, we have some messages as regards the review that was conducted here, and right. So yeah, so basically this is it. Let's move on to the next item we have here. So this is administration. Of course, I am an admin, which is why I have access to visit this specific page. So as you can see, we have the organization detail. And basically choose to make changes here. Change the logo, or probably remove the picture. Set up your site URL. Yeah, and we can also get to see the members profile. You see we have a lot of members in here, right? So you can get to see the members. You can simply set the permissions. You see most of these members do not have two-factor authentication enabled. You can of course invite a new member. right? So you can invite a new member either as an admin or member or even just a collaborator. Okay, so where you get to set limited access to projects and the chats. A member meaning this particular member now belongs to the organization, right? And an admin, giving the person that administrative privilege, all right? So that's quite straightforward. And we can also choose to create a new member directly. When you create a new member directly, you put in the last name, username, the birthday, and a bunch of other details, including the email, right? And then you can add them to a specific project. The moment you are done with that, when you click on create, they would receive an email notification asking them to join this environment. All right. Okay. All right. So please give me just 1 minute. All right, so apologies for that short distraction. Okay, so I'm going to proceed right now. The next thing we have here is the external users. So if you have an external user join this organization, basically to collaborate with the team, you have someone probably coming in as a consultant, and you don't want them to have direct access to your DMs or to the existing chats or probably some of the existing projects. This is a very simple and easy way to have those external users join in and collaborate with the team at large. All right. And we have teams. So you can set up teams, you can set up development teams or design teams respectively. Okay. So if you choose to have different different kind of segmentation, right, for the stakeholder groups. You can have the designers, the developers, the product managers, or let's say in your organization you have multiple products, then you can have each product with its own team. So for example, we're building a product like let's say Top Universe workshops, right? And then we have a different product like the Top Universe projects. You can basically have the respective teams working on individual products, right? You can set them up in here as teams. So we can have the Top Universe workshop team, right, and Top Universe project teams, right? And each of those teams, you can then attach members to those teams. So let me show you an example. We have the Top Universe workshop team, right? So if there's a parent team, you can include that here, but for now, there's no parent team. So we have the description. You can put in the email addresses, which means you can have like a direct setup. So you can basically have like let's say me at solomonmarvel.com, and yeah, so you can have these emails. So let's see. Okay, so add another. All right, so you can basically add, let's copy this, Mav, right? So you can have multiple emails, from multiple, let's say multiple users, right? And then if there's a specific person that would manage, this team, you can set up managers, but we're not going to do that right now. So you can add the description of this team, right? And there's a parent team, you can set that up as well. So let's go ahead and create this team. All right, so now that we have this team created, we can proceed, to simply click on this team and then add some members, right? So those members I added, of course, they will be sent email notifications, but they are not really real accounts. I use 3 emails, and definitely those 3 emails would be going straight to my website. So I don't need to activate any of them for now. Yeah, but right now you have this section. You can proceed to, add more members, and when you're adding these members, you can of course set up their specific roles. Okay, so you can set up the positions, and of course you can add a manager. So you see we have a lot of users here, and we can basically choose to have one of these user act as a manager, all right, for this specific team. So we don't need to do any of that. Let's discard this, and we also don't need to set up an administrator for this specific team, right? But this is basically how you do that. Okay, so let's go to locations. All right, so let's see. So okay, so basically this is how you set up, kind of trying to have your virtual, create a virtual experience that can match your physical environment. Okay, but we don't need to do any of this right now. So, but the idea is you can use this to facilitate interaction within the organization by helping members connect inside their physical environment. So, um, right. So let's see. You can basically set up a physical location, using this. You can set up a location using this dialogue right here. We don't need to do this right now. We have a bunch of other things here, equipment, positions. So this is basically where we set up positions, and you can add new positions as well, depending on the positions in your organization, basically. So you have the billings and the plan. We're currently using the free plan, so we don't need to, set up. We don't need to manage anything for now. Let's go to automation. So you can basically set up, workers, right? And you can set up. So these are jobs, right? So you can set up these jobs, and you can also, even set up self-posted workers, right? Yeah, but let's just try out a simple example here. So you can add tags. When you use tags, it's a simple way to filter through, what you have in here. But I'm not using any tag for now. So as you can see, it gives you like some details, some token. This is, basically what developers use, and you can use this to, of course, set up a process, right? You can set up a process that can run continuously, probably checking for some sort of maybe pull requests, checking for some review requests, so you can use this kind of automations to make things easier and faster getting notifications, or probably setting up some kind of workflow that will be used by your team. All right. So you have your dev environment, definitely for developers, right? So developers can, of course, configure some of these dev environments. Okay. And yeah, so you have a bunch of things here, roles, webhooks, for developers as well. And let us leave this for now. We are simply going to, dive into looking at the project. So when I click on this, it takes me to the project. By the way, this is going to take me to the blog. So I don't have any blog for now, but you can use this to write articles as well. Primarily to improve your workplace communication. So you are sharing your thoughts, plans, and ideas on, on this internal blog. So only people, that are attached to this specific workspace will be able to, see those articles and those blogs we've written for them. Okay. So let's go to projects, and this is the project we have. I'm going to click on this project, and when I click on this project, now we see the details, about this project. We see repositories, we see issues, we see our issue board if you have developed one. So this is our issue board where you can see some of the tasks. For those of you that have used other project management tools where you get to see Kanbans, right? So that is what you're seeing right here. You have the open issues, in progress, review, and done. Okay. Um, yeah, so let's start from the very first thing here, repositories. When I click on repositories, you see we have two repositories. Now, you can either choose to create your repository brand new from here, which is called a space repository. You can import a repository. Um, and if you create a new repository from here, it's as simple as just putting in the repository name, and of course, setting your default branch name and, creating that new repository, right? We don't need to do that for now. But remember, I said you can also import your repository. All you have to do is paste in the repository URL, maybe a repository from GitHub, okay? So paste that in here and put the name you want to use to identify that repository in space, right? And then you click on create. Okay, so let us click on this Cohort 2.0 backend API. So that is one of the repositories we have here. So right now you see it gives us like the source files. So basically what you're seeing here is the source files from the developers, right? And yeah, you can see the code base. This is an Express JS project. You can also get to see the architectural design. But of course, this is not giving us a preview because this is it's giving us, yeah, this is a draw IO extension. So you cannot view this in here. but let's ignore that for now. So you have some of the code files, JavaScript, um, and you can expand this. So you can expand some of these items here. You see we have different scripts. We have some example code base. This is an event code base, right? And you can basically check out, other details, including your database setup. So this is basically the source file, and this is primarily for uh, the the developers, right? So the developers can see what their code base looks like, Postmark email service, Mailgun email service, with the details, right here, very detailed, right? So you can basically review the code directly from here as well. Okay. And then you have the front end project as well. This is us just exploring, the repositories that we have, for this particular project. All right. And yeah, you can also see the source files right here. So we have the issues. So you can basically track some of the issues. And these are some of the issues that are unresolved. And you can also track the issues that are resolved, right? So this is me trying to check for projects for issues that are tied to me, but let's take that off and you'll be able to see, all the issues that are unresolved. Okay, so let's check out the issue board, which is what I've shared earlier. So of course you can move, items from a particular status to the next, right? Just like you do for your Kanban boards, right? If you have used Trello or Monday.com, or Asana, then of course you should have some experience, using this. And yeah, you have a backlog as well. Okay, so let's close this for now, and you can check out the documents. So in the document section, you're going to see all the documents, including the MVP. This is the MVP document. It's a PDF file, which means we can basically load this in here, right? So you see we have that PDF file for the MVP. Yeah, you can mark this as favorites, but let's just go back to the folders. You see the design documents, engineering documents, product documents, and the team mapping. Let's check out the engineering documents. I don't think we have items in here. We only have some items in the product documents. So you can also see the product requirement documents right here as well. All right. So this is basically, what you have for documents. You can create folders, and you can basically, put in these documents in their respective folders. Okay, and yeah, so down to the code review section. This is basically, how you perform code reviews. So you have the developers, request for a review, right? So you see when I click on create, I can create a code review. I can create a merge request. If I click on code review, it will show you like, the code reviews that were created by, by the author, and you can also check out the branches. So let's see. I check out like maybe a developer here had created some code reviews. So it says it's asking for, okay, so restructure user profile schema. Let's click on that. So, I can basically ask for, a code review. So I'm basically creating a code review right now. All right. So what you do here is you can then proceed to write a comment, um, for this particular code review, right? So I can add a comment to say, okay, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, because it's probably a better way, to set it up. As you can see, I have asked him to, restructure the user profile schema, and of course, I tagged this. I tagged. I mean, he is the author, of course, right? So, but then I dropped a comment and I asked for. Yeah, so I can actually just say maybe change, or I can say remove the user profile image from the backend, yeah, from the database table, right? And of course, so the author would also see it here, and when the author have resolved this, it can be marked as resolved. Okay, for now it is marked as unresolved, right? And we can basically have a back and forth conversation as regards that specific code review that have been created. All right, so this is basically how you use JetBrains Space. Of course, I went through most of the sessions here quite fast, but I believe you understand some of the details. If you have questions, please drop your questions in the chat, and I would simply, jump into using the next tool for just a couple of minutes. It's quite an easy tool to use, and that tool, of course, it's called diagrams.net, which is also known as draw.io. All right. If you have any questions as regards, what I've done here so far, ask your questions. We still have a couple of details. You can check out your profile. You can update your profile. Add some other details in here. Of course, you can also, manage your personal calendar using the JetBrains Space application as well. All right. So it's quite a robust app. You can have your documents in here. You can create your own documents and save your documents in here. And you can also set, access to who should be able to see those documents. All right. So yeah. All right. So do we have any questions? Um, Drop your messages in the chat if we have any questions. Hmm. Okay. So let's. All right. So do we have any questions? Okay, so I can see we don't have any questions in the comments. So let me move on to talking about diagrams.net, right? So I have diagrams.net. This is the diagrams.net website, and diagrams.net is primarily used for creating and managing your diagrams. Okay, so development teams definitely use diagrams. Now, product managers, the question you might be asking is, why do I need to draw stuff like this as a product manager? Most times, you will have to look at drawings. You will have to um, possibly come up with some kind of drawings as well. I mean, depending on the kind of product management job you get. If you're working as a technical product manager, sometimes you might have to come up with some diagrams, right, to illustrate and to describe maybe some product processes or some kind of strategy or even some kind of development related diagrams for your team. But it depends, right? And I'm saying it depends because ideally you have software architects or software engineers coming up with some diagrams, and then you are part of the review team as the product owner. You should be able to understand, this kind of diagrams. Okay, so we're going to be using draw.io for diagrams. We have a lot of tools you can explore for working on these diagrams. But draw.io is one of our major tools. We use this a lot at BoldClick. We use this at Top Universe when working on projects. And you can, of course, download the native application. But yeah, you can just proceed to use this online if that works better for you. I personally like having the native application, so I have draw.io installed already. When I click on this, I just have to either create a new diagram or open an existing diagram. When I create a new diagram, I can choose to, set up a new diagram from a template. You see, we have a bunch of templates, right? Class diagrams, flow charts, organizational charts, swim lane diagrams for, business process mapping, entity relationship diagrams, sequence diagrams. So these diagrams are, quite, different for, of course, for different teams, right? So we have business related diagrams, as you can see, you have a business model diagram right here. You have business model Canva right here, right? And we have a ton of other diagrams, right? So you can basically explore. This is a timeline diagram. You can explore using one of these options. And you click on cloud, you see we have a bunch of diagrams for development teams, as well. And you see we have, other diagrams for flow charts, for maps, network. Anyways, you are not going to be using most of this because we have different teams that would use this these kind of diagrams, right? So let's assume you are in the position to look through as a product. Let's say your team is building a product that has to do with data, right? And you are asked to come up with uh, maybe a data flow diagram, right? Or maybe some sort of let's see what's this. So this is a BPMN so this is actually a business process diagram, but I'm trying to see maybe something easier, right? So we have a flowchart. All right, so let's use a flowchart. So this is a very simple flowchart, as you can see, drawn from a template. a very simple process. Before we get into this simple diagram, let's just look at the entire, environment, right? So, of course, we can start by, choosing to rename this file. If I press Control S, which is, a way to save, I can go to my desktop and I can basically set the name of this file, right? I can call this simple flow chart, right? And I can save this on my desktop. So let's save. So I have this flowchart saved, right? So right here, you see you have a scratch pad. You can basically keep items that you want to be using so many times, right? So you can just drag items into scratch pad, items that you'll be using, over and over again. All right. So we are not going to really, let's close this for now. In the general section, you can basically see a little, yeah, you can see some shapes, right, that you can use for your diagramming. When I click on this, so you see we have a bunch of other shapes, and you can even get more, right? Click on advanced, you see more shapes, right? Flow chart, you see more shapes. But the amazing thing is you can basically click more shapes and add even more shapes, right? Shapes for Android, Atlassian, Bootstrap, iOS, UML, networking related shapes, business related shapes. You can basically have a ton of shapes, right here. But the reason why we have a few shapes to start with is, to avoid having unnecessary, shapes that you won't be using, right? I can add some shapes, related to AWS, for example. Um, so let's see. I can basically add some shapes, UML, AWS. What else do I need here? All right. So I just added some shapes. Let me click on apply. All right, now you see we have a ton of shapes, right? AWS Analytics, you see we have a ton of shapes. This is basically, because I just, added it, right? You see we have so many shapes right here that we can use as regards AWS. And of course, I can choose to turn that off as well. If I feel it is too much, right, I can just take that off, okay? Right, so I have the UML option here and the AWS 3D. So I can simply drag or just click, I click, I have a shape added here, and I can just, drag and drop, right, if that is what I prefer to do. And, we can start connecting these shapes, right? So as you can see, you have an option. This is something showing up here. We can simply connect and, of course, connect, right? So you can highlight, mark them, let's move it around. So basically have a shape right here. And that is exactly what was, done here as well. So we can click and connect, right? Click and connect. Let's position that well. So move this right here. Okay. So we have this. Yeah. So that is simply how you connect the shapes, right? You can choose to select the tiny dot you see, right there. Now you have your arrow pointed out, and each of these shapes can be customized as well, right? So, for example, let's click on the first item here that says lamp doesn't work, and I can choose to change colors in the properties section. In the properties section, we have style, text, and arrange, right? In the style section, we can set up the specific style, okay? We can even choose to look for more styles. These are default styles that have been built in. You can create your own, right? If that's something you want. So let's go back and stick with some of the defaults here. So let's just stick with this. So I can say all these processes will be marked with this particular style. And the decision, these are decision boxes. I can mark this with a different color, right? So, this is basically our style. When you click on any item, it has a series of, settings or properties. So this is an element, and then you have properties, right? So you can set the style, change the fill color, change the type of line. If you want a dashed line, you can basically set this to be rounded, to have a glassy feel. So these are just, properties that you can play around with, okay? A sketchy feel, if that's what you want. And yeah, you even have more properties right here where you can basically set the values, if you want to go the manual route, which is also amazing. And you can set the property of the text, like the font size. Let's drop this down a bit. And then you can also set the direction, the font direction, make this bold or not, italicized, underlined, right? Set up the alignment. So, we have a bunch of, formatting options right here. Okay, and at the end of the day, you can choose to clear the formatting if you want to set this back to the default formatting. Now let's go to arrange. So this is basically how you bring items to front to back. If you're trying to we'll have some items like this. So we can basically select this and send this to back, right? You see what I'm doing here? So these are, simply ways to, position or arrange the elements you've created. This is how you style that element, and this is how you style the text property of that element, right? So, yeah. So you can basically work with the elements, pick those elements from here and set the properties of those elements, okay? When you're done, you can choose to export your design, okay, or your diagram. All right. So we have a diagram here. We can choose to select the section and basically export that section. Now, by the way, when I right click, you see you have a bunch of properties, a bunch of things you can do here. Alignment, set up the distribution if you want it to be distributed horizontally, vertically. Or yeah, you can also add these items to Scratchpad, where you can basically reuse it, right? So yeah, okay. So now to export, I can click on File. I can click on Export As. As you can see, we can export as a PNG, JPG, SVG, PDF, which is what we do most times. And we can choose to export maybe the selected area, right? So I can export the selected area. I can choose to attach the grid if I want to, which is the grid on the background. But of course, let's just export the selection only, and yeah, let's do that. So when I click on export, I'm saving this to my desktop, and I can proceed to check my desktop for that specific PDF that I have saved. So this is it right here, simple flowchart. When I double click on this, I have that diagram. Okay, so this is an amazing tool for diagramming, and most times you're going to find yourself working on some diagrams. I have worked on several diagrams with product managers, right? High-end product managers, and I can show you. Let's see. This is an example. So if I go to let's say brain architecture, right? Let's see. People here. All right. So okay, so this is an example of a very old diagram that I worked on with a friend. So no, come on. So as you can see, it's a very simple diagram, and this guy happens to be a product manager, right? So yeah, I love that we worked on this activity diagram. We're able to basically showcase a couple of things in this diagram. I don't need to expand too much on this, but yeah, I mean the point is, he is a product manager, right? And we're able to work on a diagram together based on his job requirement, of course, right? So yeah, it's amazing using some of these tools. And of course, if you have questions, feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we have reached the end of this hands-on workshop. I hope you learned something new from this session. We covered the draw.io tool. We also covered the JetBrains Space tool. All right, and the recording of this session will be on YouTube after this session, so you can always go back to watch that video. And you can also bring your questions to the Discord server. If you're not on the Discord server, then you need to be on the Discord server. And yeah, we have a ton of workshops coming up shortly. So please make sure you engage on the server. Make sure you ask questions, and this is how you get to learn. Yeah, so let's just check them out. So on the workshops.topuniverse.org, you will definitely find most of these workshops already scheduled here with the dates, right? So as you can see, we have a ton of workshops, ongoing workshops till November 25th, right? These are lots and lots of tools to learn, right? And I'm sure if you engage in these sessions, by the time you're done with this training, you are definitely going to be an highly, sought after product manager, right? We're looking at a lot of tools. A lot of people don't know these tools, but you have the opportunity to learn these tools. So, yeah, make sure. Okay, so someone said as a PM, do you need to create diagrams personally too, or is it basically for you and your team to work on a product? Sometimes, right? So let's ask, the question. Um, so I think if we ask the question, what kind of diagrams do product managers create, right? Yeah, so let's ask that question. And when you ask that question, you see product managers create user flows, right? User persona diagrams, user story maps, right? Um, Maybe a feature prioritization matrix, Gantt charts, roadmaps. You also get to work on wireframes and mockups. I worked with a friend, on a product in Kenya, and they were trying to revamp that product from version 1 to version 2. And I worked with that product manager to come up with a proof of concept, a POC, and then we had to mock. We just picked up the screens on the previous app, and we put that in draw.io, and we tried to add some additional screens, make some slight changes to the proof. So this is just you trying to come up with a POC. You're not a full-blown designer, right? But trying to make them understand that based on your findings, based on your research, asking user questions, you have come to realize that this would be something we should look into, right? You work on SWOT analysis, value proposition canvas, you work on flow charts, mind maps, right? Stakeholder maps, data flow diagrams. Yes, you are definitely going to be working on diagrams. But at the end of the day, it depends on your team. If you're in a team where they have like business developers, or maybe some kind of tasks that are handled by specific departments, they can actually ask those guys to handle it. But in most cases, if it's a diagram related to maybe a product revamp, or some of the things I have mentioned, right, you would definitely have to prove that you can do this, and it's quite easy. So you don't have to be scared. It is definitely easy. It's all about selecting the shape you need from here, right? And once you double click, you can simply write some text in here, as you can see. So trust me, it's quite easy. The more you use it, the better you become at using it. Okay, so it's quite easy, and of course, you can always select from the templates, right? So remember, you can always select from the templates, and so let's go to the business. Let's see. Um, right. So let's check out like the charts. So you can basically select from the template. This is a simple. What do we have here? Let's see. What do we have here? um, Flow charts. So of course, you can check out some of these things. This is a bit okay. This is a data flow. So this is a data flow, but I mean this might look somehow confusing. Let's just close this. I was trying to pull up maybe something around user personas, and there are other tools you can also use. We're going to be exploring some of those tools in the future. So let's see. Okay, let's see if I can get something around products, right? Something around like a product, maybe like a PPMN diagram. Do I have one here? These are basically cross-functional flow charts. Um, okay, so I am trying to look for what do we have here? All right, so these are more complex diagrams, but of course we can use something like this to set up like a timeline, to say, okay, in the first quarter, we're going to be developing this, in the second quarter, in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. But this is more like, a timeline diagram, right? So depending on what you're asked to do, by the way, if you're asked to create a user flow, you probably don't even need to look for a template. You can just start, by saying you're creating a simple user flow for an application. So the first thing is you have your user sign in. So let's have like a user icon here. So this is our user. I'm going to call this our user. And the first thing this user would have to do, obviously, is to sign in, right? Or let's say open the app. All right. Then we create an account. So this can be like an action, like a flow for creating an account. Um, so I would say, uh, yeah, click on create accounts, maybe. Enter email, password. Right. The next step might be, probably verify. So verify email. All right. Yeah, and if you're trying to set up, something, we can say, okay, maybe we have a point where you have to, select. You have to probably select account, like account creation type. Maybe some applications can say sign in with Google. That kind of stuff. So select sign up option. All right, and right here, all you have to do is to say, okay, maybe we can have that select sign up option in here. Or you can then, say if this user decides to go with, email and password, let's just duplicate this. User can decide to go with email and password, right? So, or you can even say already have an account, right? So if yes, then show login screen, right? But of course, if no, then select sign up option, all right? Then, and when you select sign up option, you might have to enter Gmail password, those kind of stuff. Click on Gmail, or maybe you select username and password, or I can just say sign in with email and password, and verify your email. Yeah, and then you can proceed to show login screen afterwards, right? So we have a different flow that would come down here, right? And now you have a simple diagram. So of course, it depends on what you are trying to, create at the end of the day. But now you have a simple diagram, and depending on what you're building, I mean, this is good, right? And yeah, you might say I was fast with this because I already have a lot of experience using it, no doubt, right? And I agree with that. But the thing is, you are not going to get that experience if you don't use it. So learn to use some of these tools we teach you. All right. Do we have any questions? All right. So Gracious said, thanks, Marv. I find this session. Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Francis. I find this session really useful and insightful. All right, that's amazing. Okay, so it's already 3 minutes past 9, so we're done with this session. If you have more questions, you can find me on Discord. So have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys next time. Amaka, if you can speak, please, over to you.
Hi, Ma. Thank you so much. We learned a lot. I'm still
All
processing the information.
right.
So, all right, guys. Do have a lovely night rest. Thank you so much, Ma. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye.